Everybody thinks the market's going to crash. Now, here's the thing, right? The market may go backwards. The market may change a little bit. The market might slide a little bit. We may lose some of the appreciation that we've gained over the last 12 months. Is that a crash? All right, here's a different word. The word crash. When you hear crash, what do you think of? Let's do some wordplay.
Major price reductions.
2008.
Jack, what's your thoughts? Jack, you came off mute.
Destruction.
Destruction. All right, when I say car crash, not you, Jack. You don't car crash right now. You drive safe. When I say car crash, you think of a mangled body of metal, right? Did you know that when somebody backs into you in a parking lot, that is also considered a crash? So when somebody says the market's going to crash, you can say, is it going to be like a parking lot fender bender or a 90-mile-an-hour T-bone? And then you can make it real for them. Well, yeah, you're right. The market is absolutely going to crash, but I think it'll buff out. I said that to a guy. He was giving me shit at the garage sale, and we didn't talk about this, but it came to mind. He's all, yeah, I'm going to wait to buy anything in this market until it crashes. Also, you're absolutely right. The market's going to crash, but I think it'll buff out. He goes, what do you mean? I was like, just like a fender bender in a parking lot, that's still considered a crash, but it'll buff out. I was like, we may lose 10 to 15%, but we're not going to drop massive value. After this year reconciles, we may see ourselves at the values at the beginning of 2021. And then we'll still see a steady incline in valuations around the 2.5% to 3% range, which means that, yes, people are going to be buying now for less than they could have bought a year ago. However, in a year from now, where would the values be? In a crash, we would expect things to keep going down and down and down. How long was the worst recession we've ever seen?
18 months or so.
There you go. How did you know that, Chantel? That's amazing.
Lucky guess.
Lucky guess. 18 months or so. So,
isn't 18 months the longest ever recession?
It's the longest ever.
And most of them are actually an average of 2 to 6 months, right?
Less than 2 quarters, yeah. Less than 6 months. Guys, we're in quarter 4. The first 2 quarters signaled the recession. We have started the 4th quarter, meaning by the end of this year, we will have completed 2 full quarters of a recession, which is on average the end of a recession. And even if we didn't, by the end of 2023, we will be back to where we were or better. A lot of stuff can happen in a year. So one of the scripting elements that we don't talk nearly enough about is the mindset you go into a conversation with. It doesn't mean jack what you say if you don't believe it. Don't bullshit your buyers and sellers. Don't lie to them. Educate them. And if you are unsure, ask questions. Like I said a couple of weeks ago, it's okay to tell them to wait. It may not make sense. But if someone is going to wait for the demise of the real estate market, like any of the news outlets are talking about, they may be waiting for a very long time. There are some people out there that bought houses 20, 30, 40 years ago that are expecting prices to go back to the same plateau. Is that realistic? Everyone shake your head no. No, it's not. So how can we handle those people?
Well, I've been trying to tell people that there are some good things happening for buyers. So to just say prices are dropping because there's fewer buyers in, there's higher inventory, we can get seller concessions now, and we can get better terms to buy down their interest rate. So just talking about the good things that have happened right now.
There's tons of great stuff going on in the market. How are you going to feel when you wake up tomorrow and the opportunity you had yesterday is gone? There were hundreds of thousands of people that waited to buy a house in 2020 because of COVID, because the market was going to crash. What happened?
They're upset with themselves now that they've sat back and missed the entire incline.
I understand, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer. There's always going to be a consumer out there that wants to wait for some inevitable change that could possibly put them in a better scenario. No one has a glass ball, and I wish I could tell you the future but all I can tell you are the facts. Right now, we're seeing interest rates that peaked at the highest they've been in many years, and then they started coming back down. We've seen volatility in the stock market. We've seen volatility in consumerism. And all of that creates an unstable environment for buyers like yourself to make a huge purchase like buying a house. But what I can tell you is my clients that are planning on staying in the house longer than a few years, it'll balance out in their benefit. After all, we want you to date the rate and marry the house. It changes day to day, but they're expecting in the next 6 to 9 months or so, rates will belly back into the 4.5% range, which is average. Do you feel confident talking to a client about the potential of a scary market? Can you be the calm in a storm? Are you able to take somebody's hand and say, hey, I got this, follow me? If not, then we need to work on your confidence and give you some education, some skill sets to sharpen your machete so you can chop through this jungle.
Hey Dan, I took this. I hate reading books, but I've been reading them more and more because the Shift book, the MREA, and then it's led me to want even to read more. And I did this webinar yesterday from a real estate agent who does about 10 million a year or something like that, right? And she was saying that when we have all, not the answers, but when we are the source that the people look to, we automatically have this authority, meaning that like they'll come to us for the answer, right? And when we gain that trust and then that authority at the same time, it's almost like we can find out the motivation of a buyer or a seller easier. And really in the shifting market, that's what we're supposed to be doing, is finding the motivated and their motives, because the motives always, I think I said that yesterday, but the motives always change when the market changes for buyers and sellers.
The reasons why or why not are fluid, but the fact that they have reasons is granite. People will change their reasoning. However, the need is still there. Food, clothing, and shelter are the 3 innate human needs. We just live in a consumeristic environment, the economy, where you can go and buy what you want, what you need, and a whole lot in between. If we help them identify a motive or reason, to get moving, we can overcome any triumph, right? If I told you water was on the other end of that hill and it was 110 degrees outside and you're walking in burning sand, but you knew all you had to do was get over top of this hill, would you sit down and give up, or would you walk through the fiery sand to get to the water, right? I tell people all the time, this is going to suck. You're going to pay too much. You're not going to be happy with the payment, but you're going to be happy with the life that the house gives you. We're going to deal with a lot of ups and downs, some positive and negatives. But at the end of everything, we're going to be battled, beaten, bruised, and bloody, but we will be better off because we have bought a house. You have created stability in your life. You have shored against inflation. You have secured yourself against increasing rent rates. You have provided longevity. My homeowners on the call, does it feel good to know that you have made equity in the last couple of years? Just like any stock market, when the market is good, we check our stocks every single day, right? We want to know where we made money, right? We get excited about it. When the market is bad, how often do we check our stuff? We don't look, right? Keep it blind. It's safe that way. Somebody out there is hoping that the market crashes so that they can take an opportunity that they've been wanting to. They're just looking for a reason why. When somebody says, I'm just waiting for the market to crash, that is a buying indicator, an IOI, an indicator of interest. Because if the market crashed or not, they're still going to buy something. Otherwise, they'd say, no, I'm not in the market. I'm not interested. I remembered when COVID hit and we were talking about finding them a win, right? What was a good deal? You might remember what the good deal was back in 2020?
Getting a house.
Getting the house, winning the offer. That was the good deal. That was the best thing. It didn't matter if you paid $100,000 more for the house than it was listed for. If you won, you got the house. You win. Sellers these days are going to be a little bit more greedy and less reluctant to price their houses accordingly because they're based off of past information. Buyers are hoping that things continue to get worse so they can buy at a better position. But if you buy your house at $10,000 less than it was 6 months ago, and the interest rates are 2% higher, you're not in a better financial position. Well, the argument is I could always refinance. Is a refinance free? You can eat away at that $10,000 in equity real fast with a refinance. Half of it gone. I can't even snap this morning, just like that. But if someone wants to live in a house for 4, 5, 10, 15, 20, forever, years, as my dad says, and I love this saying, it is better to cry once than whimper the rest of your life. It is better to put yourself in a better position now, do the hard work now, than wishing you had forever. Far too many clients out there, guys, are going to wait for something to change that never will. I'm sorry, the entry level of a house is now $250,000. It's no longer $180,000. $180,000 houses exist, but they need $50,000 or $60,000 worth of work. $150,000 houses exist, but they're an hour outside of civilization. But I want you to get in the mindset of being able to communicate value in an uncertain environment, right? The calm in the storm. Because that's what your clients are looking for. 68% of agents are chosen because they were the first one that talked to the client. Just because they were the first contact, they were chosen. So you have nearly a 70% chance of winning the business by being first. You can close that gap on the other 30% by being solid, because they're calling on your professionalism. They're calling on your experience. And even if you don't have it, some of my newbies might still smell like new agent smells. You have us, all varying experiences, all varying time in this market. But if you count it up collectively, thousands of years of experience at your exposure. If I don't know the answer, guess what? I got 10 other people I can ask that may. And some of them have been in this business 10, 15 years longer than I've been alive. So that is my message to you today, guys, is find your steady ground so that you can help people out of their holes. You don't have to get down in the hole with them. Throw them a lifeline and help pull them up. Give them the facts and data to stand on. Give them the emotional strength to make a tough decision. Because after all, sales is nothing more than a conversation with a proposed outcome where you convey enough enthusiasm to get the other side to make a decision. We're not here to talk people into something that's going to be bad for them. So sometimes it's talking them out of staying in a bad position. And if you need help with that this weekend, you got my number. Happy Friday, guys. Go out there and change a life. Big high five.